This is how they put people to death, in the worst way in these times, especially those they want to make an example for others. They want to make sure they can control the masses by fear. They were trying to find various ways to destroy him because he was gaining too much power. He was beginning to gain many followers who were questioning the Roman laws and the equality and fairness of life under them. They were gaining strength and talking of rebelling, for this is not how you treat your fellow man. So the soldiers were trying to destroy the Nazarene and make it appear that others had done it. Did they arrest him? You said they tortured him. I'm curious about what happened. Then they started infiltrating the streets and getting anyone they could find to do their deeds. There are many who can be paid off. Many poor Roman followers were very eager to do the bidding of the soldiers. So now they continue to infiltrate the streets and pay people to bring down his reputation, to make him seem what he is not. For there are many of those who can be bought off and turn in their own kind too. And they will, of course, blame it on the people of the temple. The Nazarene chose to walk his own path because he found those within the temple to be as cruel and manipulative as within the Roman courts. So I would think that after he survived going off into the ravine, that the Romans would have reacted differently. The Romans were filled with more fear because they know these private villages are forming. His followers are growing. Every time he has a healing, every time something happens, or a person who had a dark personality has changed, just like the blind man, it creates more believers. If he knows someone from the Romans is going to try to mistreat him, he will confront them with this. He is made aware of who has turned on him. He went, even though he was aware of the kidnap, because he thought he might be able to heal within the hierarchy of the government. So he has chosen to allow his physical being to go through what it must for his own lessons on this earth. He did that for a reason then, because he knew it was going to happen. So they sped up their intervention on the streets. They knew that unless they turned the masses against him, they would not survive. They would not retain their power. So they lived in more fear after he survived. That is why he doesn't want to return to Jerusalem anytime soon. Yes, but he will return because there are people there that need him. He knows he must carry out his plans and his mission, so he will go back. Jews were not taught to think for themselves or to question the rabbis or the priests. In Jerusalem, Jesus was viewed with suspicion because he was asking people to go against the only teaching they had ever been exposed to. He was asking them to listen to a totally different way of thinking, and many were incapable of doing so. It was much easier to present his new and radical ideas to those in the outlying towns who were open to listening to ideas that were contrary to their upbringing. It was not easy for people to listen and accept concepts that were totally opposite to everything they had been taught all their life. Many considered him a dangerous radical, and his teachings the ramblings of a madman. Historians claim that Jesus' famous Sermon on the Mount could never have been preached in the Jerusalem area, because that city was a hotbed of tradition. The sermon presented the opportunity to the listeners to look beyond tradition and the exact letter of the law to a new and enlarged application of old sayings and truths. Such a state of mind would not have generally been found in Judea at that time, but was exactly what could be expected in the region of Capernaum. Jesus had turned the rabbis, priests, and traditional Jews against him because he thought the priests in the temple concentrated too much on rituals and the performance of ceremonies. They did not look at the problems and concerns of the people. Jesus saw that there was a greater conflict than the one between Rome's tyranny and the Jewish belief that they were the chosen people of God. The people in Palestine had real cause to be afraid of the Romans. During Jesus' lifetime, at the beginning of the reign of Herod Antipas, some Jews tried a rebellion. It was put down by the superior strength of the Romans, and 2,000 Jews were crucified as punishment. The people lived with the oppression of a harsh ruler, but their hope for a Redeemer, a Messiah, a Savior to lead them out of it, showed that they were desiring an overthrow of the existing government and a return of their lost freedoms. The Zealots used these emotions to fuel their cause. They thought that Jesus would be the new king in the literal sense, and that he would side with them in a real war to free the country. His mild ways and talk of love angered them, because they expected violence to be the answer. Judas Iscariot is now recognized as probably belonging to the Zealots. This was one of the reasons behind his betrayal of Christ. He thought he could force Jesus into a situation where he would have to fight, and the rest of the people would join him. The Romans were very aware of the volatile situation in Jerusalem and the possible danger presented by anyone who might appear as a leader. When Jesus entered the city on Palm Sunday, exalted by the cheering throng, the Romans knew they would have to get rid of him by any means. His popularity had grown to a threat that menaced them. The people were acknowledging him as the long-awaited Messiah who would lead them from bondage and slavery to the Romans. He was the man who would lift the yoke. The authorities saw this man, Jesus, could be the one to stir the people into rebellion. This gentle man could no longer be tolerated. Yes, but he will return